Hello everyone and welcome to my new video. And what is this video about? Well, the other day I was on the Ableton Live Facebook group and I got caught up in this conversation with people making various comparisons between the different ways that you can approach sequencing beats, I suppose, in the arrange page in Ableton, and all the different ways that you can do it. And everyone had all these different opinions and everyone was talking about all the pros and cons of all their different ways, just using audio clips or using MIDI or whatever. And I got caught up in this conversation and I thought this would make quite a good video. So what I'm going to do is kind of a workflow comparison between what I would consider to be maybe three of the main ways that you might want to approach it. I think the initial question was something along the lines of a guy said that he was watching a video with a guy making an EDM track and it was just basically like a load of clips in the arrange page or something, and he said, why would you do that? And I was like, well, you could do it like that, but there are loads of other ways, and everyone had their own opinions. Anyway, so I thought I would talk about some of that. So I would say probably the depending on the type of music you want to do is probably going to affect the type of approach that you want to use for putting your beats together. So if we were doing like a 4 to the floor thing, it would be pretty easy just to grab a kick from somewhere. Not that one though. Oh, maybe not that one either. That one will do. And then we can just sort of put that in there, and and then what do we do? Well, we would just go like that, bang, 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 and then a couple more bangs here, bang. Then we would maybe just duplicate, and then we've got a kick. And then like for a snare, we would do a similar sort of thing. We would just get our snare. Oh, that'll do. Yeah. We'll put our snare in like here. And we'll just duplicate. Okay, and then we're done. And then for a hi-hat, get our hi-hat. I should have prepared these sounds maybe. Let's get a little, that'll do, yeah. And then so for our hi-hat, we probably want our hi-hat in here. And then we would do the same thing. And then we've got a beat. It's not that great, but that didn't take very long. That was kind of my point. So obviously if you were doing like a different style of genre, whatever, then like the pattern will be different. But if you were going to do quite sort of strict for stuff where everything is kind of minimal, shall we say, and in very defined places, that won't take you very long at all. And if you're going to maybe approach the track where you want to have every element of your track on separate channels on your mixer, then this will probably make a lot of sense, because you can mix and EQ your kick one way, your snare the other way, and your hi-hat the other way. But what are the cons of that? Well, you don't really have a hell of a lot of control over the shape of the sound, and that is where you might want to consider doing MIDI. But like MIDI maybe takes a little bit longer to do. I mean, if you're in a bit of a rush and you're one of these workflow conscious people that wants to get their track count, out of the off the scale so that they can produce 100 tracks a minute, then I don't know. Or if you might not be one of those people. But let's try the same thing with MIDI, like using a single MIDI instrument for each part of our track. Let's minimize all of those. Let's just bring in, I'm going to bring in a sampler because it's my favorite, and I'm just going to find a kick. No, not that one. Fucking hell. Right, yeah, that one will do. Right, okay. So I don't have a keyboard ready right now, so I'll just I guess I can just sort of go in here and well, actually what I'll do is I will create an empty MIDI clip for the entire let's say the opening 16 bars. I'll insert a MIDI clip, I'll go in here, and I'll just paint like that. There we go. I just painted in a load of kick drums. Let's solo that. Actually no, let's just mute it. All right, so we've got our kick, and like the thing is, like if you use a sample, you've got loads of control over the shape of the sound. We can EQ it and filter it before we've even applied any effects. Put some clicky filter in or whatever. And also, like, it's just obviously like way easier to, draw in specific patterns that you want. If we were going to do like a drum and bass thing, how would we do that? No. It would be like, 1/68, and we'd have like a thing there, wouldn't we? I think. Yeah, something like that. And then, if you wanted to duplicate that, you could just do the same sort of thing, just duplicate like this. And then, you would do the same thing for your snare. And so the reason why I would say you might want to consider doing it that way is because you've got a lot more of control over the shape with the envelope, amplitude envelope. And there's also, if you're using sampler, which is really good, you can apply like some shaping to it. All that kind of stuff. And also, like, if you wanted to replace the sound, if you got a little further down in your track and you were like, oh, you know what, I don't like that kick drum at all, then you just drop in a different sound. Although a guy did say something about that you can just use the replace sample or replace clip, which I didn't know anything about. I don't know what he means. I'm just going to have a look at that. So I don't know. Maybe I would hit edit or what's that? Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I understood what he meant. Just replace all clips or something. Anyway, I mean, like, I've just pasted in a load of kick drums there, and if I change my mind that I want to use a different kick, then I'm going to have to put them all in there again, which is a terrible ball ache. I don't want to do that. I've just done an 8-minute trance track, and I don't want to replace all the kicks that are on clips now. So yeah, I would consider maybe using MIDI there would be a bit of a thing to think about. And so whilst having separate tracks for MIDI, you've still got the flexibility of mixing in the same way that you have here. And obviously this, when it comes to sort of just moving stuff around or whatever, to a lot of people, this is going to be quite bread and butter. But I just thought I'd talk about it. The other thing was just doing everything in drum racks, which is generally what I would do. But there are some problems with that. I was saying that, drum racks are really flexible and there's loads of different things you can do. It's very easy to kind of organize your sounds, have all your percussion sounds in one place, and all the information is on one MIDI channel. It's kind of a drum machine sort of. Oh, that's nice. That's nice too. So you would like go in here and insert your MIDI clip, and then you would draw in your. Let's just mute that one. Yeah, and then you would draw in the clip, and then you do all that business, and you're all good to go and whatnot. Now let's just quickly put some hats in. Let's put in some really stupid hi-hats. The last ones are all going to be 16ths. Here they come. Annoying. Right, so now we've got all our MIDI information there on one clip, which is for me, that kind of will be a lot more organized. If I want to program some drums that have a lot of variation, I don't want to kind of be moving between lots of different clips. Where's my snare MIDI? I want to put a little fill in somewhere or whatever. Yeah, I suppose I could do that, but the other thing is that is layering sounds, which is something that I do quite a lot, and I'm pretty sure everyone does it. If you really want to get more out of your kicks and your snares, sometimes you might use 3 or 4 in one hit to really beef them up. And if you're doing that with just audio clips in the arrange page, that's going to get very, very difficult to like manage. I mean, what if I've just like created my definitive kick drum track and I want to double it up? Like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Just like, paste in a load of other clips again and make sure that they all match up. Like if they were, if they were all like that, I'd have to bring in a new clip and then, I don't see that working. And so, if you're doing MIDI, it just makes it really easy, especially in like the drum rack. Here I am in a drum rack with a kick here, and I can group this to an instrument rack, and I could drop in more kicks if I want, like gazillions of them. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one either. Let's just pour all of these in here. Now I've got, what have I got here? Like 6 kick drums. And we'll solo that a minute. I got 6 kick drums there. I mean, and every time that I go into my MIDI here and I want to maybe move a MIDI note or an event or do like a fill or an extra bit of programming, I can apply that to all of my kicks because they're all layered up on one, MIDI event. Doing that with a ton of audio clips across multiple tracks in an arrange page using clips that you've dropped in and pasted, I don't think that would be a good workflow at all. So yeah, I think if you're into layering sounds, percussion sounds, you might want to consider, you might do this already anyway, and you're probably thinking, why have I made it this far into the video? This is all nonsense. I know this. Some of you may not. Snares especially, you might want to get some snares and a clap together or whatever, and like if you want the clap to come a little bit early for a bit of flam, you would just move the MIDI note back a little bit or whatever, or but you know what, there are cons for doing things in drum racks, and that is that you kind of have to do all the mixing inside the instrument, which you can do. Each one of these cells is essentially its own audio track. We can drop in any amount of like reverb that we want, either on a layered rack or on a single a single layer in that. So I've just dropped a vocoder in on one of those kicks, but I've also dropped some reverb on the entire layer, the stack, the instrument rack. Now, again, doing that with a whole load of audio clips, I would consider to be a little bit of a hassle. But you do have everything laid out across tracks. So if you want to bus things to, maybe you only want to put a few, maybe like you're doing like a kick drum, and you're so into your kick drums where you've got like one kick drum which is super in the low range, and then you've got a more mid-range kick drum a little higher up, and you want to EQ that separately, you want to compress it separately. Having them all on separate tracks, being able to bus things to separate things, separate aux sends or whatever, makes sense. In drum racks it can get a little bit fiddly. If you're in the session view, you can kind of open up the drum rack here, and here you can go in and you can just sort of see them all in a more like a kind of mixer sense. So like if you'd imagine that, I think you can move them around as well. Oh, that's cool. I never actually do this, but so here you could go in and like when you're in there, it's kind of like you're looking at a single track rather than looking at it in the nested view. You can focus on each one. So, again, that is sort of something. I don't think you can bus stuff though. Like you can't. I know you can actually. If you go into the drum rack and hit the I/O button here, you can create. What do we do here? Oh, send and return. Here we go. So we create our sends. Okay, so this is where we put our sends in. We would create a chain, And here we go. So now that we've created a return chain, we can send the output of that to a return chain in the session. So I think here I've got a reverb on here. Actually, let's go back. Let's set that to delay. So this is our delay channel here. Where was I just then? Okay, so so we've got a send. Oh, it's just appeared there. There it is. So now we've got all these sends, and these will now bus to our normal auxiliary send the same way that regular tracks would. Oh, hello. So let's listen to that. So I've done it there. No, I haven't. Hang on a minute, I'm confusing myself. Let's turn that reverb off. Now let's bus. There we go. So, you know, another thing as well is that there's the copy value to siblings thing, especially if you, it won't work too well when you're using different elements of sounds, because it'll do, what did I just do there? It'll do it to all of the sounds in the entire drum rack, which is kind of irritating even when they're nested. But if we were just, if I just delete all of those, and if this was like our kick drum MIDI sequence, then if I wanted to, you know, back off the release for all of them, the sustain rather for all of them, I can just hit copy value to siblings. And then if I wanted to back off the decay, I could do the same thing, copy value to siblings. You know, if I wanted some of them to, maybe if I wanted some of them to have a bit of, you know, I could basically treat them all individually, but they're all still one event in my song. And doing that with audio clips, no, I wouldn't fancy doing that at all. But yeah, like, I mean, just think about how quickly it was for me to get that sequence going earlier on when I started that. It was pretty quick. So really, it kind of depends on, I would say, on the type of track that you're making. If you're making like a, I don't know, like a techno or a house thing where, you know, the structure is kind of quite predetermined. You know, we're going to have our intro here, and then we're going to have a drop here, and then we've got like some stuff happening for until bar 64 or something, 65. Then, yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to just drop a single kick drum in, select where you want to duplicate it, and then just off you go. Like in other, I think in other things like Pro Tools, like you can select a range and then you can say that you want that range to loop. And then you would just click and drag it. Ableton doesn't do that, and the clip itself needs to be looped, which is kind of annoying because if you don't want to warp it, you can't really use loop. So you have to duplicate. Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of my digest on the topic. Maybe that was some use to you if you're watching in that group. Or you might be thinking, can I have those 10 minutes of my life back? 18 minutes. So, my advice would be use MIDI. Use drum racks, they're awesome. Look at all this flexibility I've got here. I can route things either internally. I could have another chain here, and I could have a bus on that chain that's only on the in the drum rack. Let's try this grain delay. Oh. So yeah, those are 3 different ways that you can approach how to do linear sequencing, and which one is the right one for you, and which one is the quickest, the slowest, gives you the most amount of flexibility, gives you the most amount of control, which one's going to be the easiest to manage in the long term when you get to the end and you have to mix it. How are you going to, is everything going to be ready for mixing? There you go. Thanks for watching. See you next time.